think everybody wants to be fluent, but it's yeah, the journey to get there is a little more complicated, of course.
I think so. Yes. So, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year's too.
Happy New Year.
Thank
I
you.
see you got your Christmas tree back there.
I do. I do. I have this Christmas tree. I worked really hard. I did a lot of research in looking for it. This year, New York was really crazy with their prices.
Yeah. Yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
trees were running for like 250 for something like this.
What?
And I
How
just
tall is it?
this one, well, I didn't spend 250. This one is like a little bit over 7 feet.
Oh, okay. That's kind of a big one, I think. I got mine's like maybe five.
5 feet. Okay. Okay.
Mm.
How much did you pay?
I think we paid 100
100.
for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So like the people in front of our houses, in front of our house, they were like Scrooges, they
Hmm.
were trying to charge 250, 275.
Yeah.
And so I did all this research. Whole Foods was selling it for like $70,
Oh,
but
wow.
they
I'm
sold out.
surprised.
Yeah, right. But then I found this one place near our house, a hardware store, and
Mm.
they had this thing where it was like anything above 7 feet was $100.
Okay. I
So
mean, that
not
sounds pretty
bad.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's reasonable. So Kaya, my daughter, chose the biggest one possible because
Mm. Of
our
course.
limit was unlimited. And then
Well,
when I
it's
was
it's
when I
big,
was,
bit the bigger the better.
of course, you got to maximize. So
Yeah.
when we were walking home, like pushing it in the cart, everyone was like, "Nice tree, good job."
I always just go outside on the street because it's literally across the street from my apartment, and we can just carry it back. And so I feel, if I'm paying too much for it, the convenience is worth
Yeah,
the price.
that's true. This year I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I also see you got an interesting sweatshirt. What
I
does it say?
do, I do. So hold on, let me see if I can. It says New York or nowhere.
Ah, all right.
So I've been feeling like there are a lot of people that are still saying like New York is done and I'm so tired of New York. I was listening to this podcast yesterday and this girl was like, I'm so done with New York, like so tired about moving to LA. And I immediately turned off the podcast. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I have no time for that. I mean, it's not only, living here, but also my wife is from Northern California
Mhm.
and they have no time for SoCal. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so anytime I hear LA, I'm just like, nah, I'm done.
Yes, yes, I'm done with that.
It's
So
just it's just jealousy.
I think so too. New York is just, but also it's like we're just getting over the pandemic. Give us a little time to like
Mm,
breathe and get back
sure.
to normal, right?
Yeah, right. I do feel that this new year felt a lot like before the pandemic, because we
Yes.
had like I don't go to Times Square, but like the first New Year, it was limited only to the healthcare people, I think. And
Yes.
then the second one, it was like lower capacity because of Omicron. And then this year, there were so many people in town
It was
for New
totally
Year's
normal.
Eve.
There's tourists everywhere. And like I was walking in Soho and I was thinking, God, I hate all these people. But then I was like, but I'm also like grateful that we're kind of back.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, like I thought about that back, I guess it was the summer of 2020. I was going around Central Park and there was just hardly anybody there. And
yeah,
I was like, man, I was like, it's summer and there's nobody in Central Park. And
it's
I was like,
creepy. It was creepy, right?
well, I mean, it's also kind of
It's
nice
nice.
to,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
nice.
that
Yeah.
you don't have the crowds. And then the same that, I got off the subway last week and I was like, oh my God, there's so many people here. And, there's a certain way that you should walk around Midtown.
Yes.
And so it was frustrating, but then the same, I was like, oh, actually it's good for the city. And of course, I want people to come enjoy and see all the great stuff here.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like this kind of conflicted feeling of like,
Yeah.
it's kind of nice having these like streets to yourself?
Yeah, and it was, I mean, definitely early it was really creepy. Like I remember I did a bike ride around the city I think in May, and it was shocking to see Times Square with nobody. Like there were
Yes.
a couple of construction workers, there were some kind of crazy like religious people who camped out there for a while. And then like I rode over the Brooklyn Bridge. Normally you can't even ride there because there's so many people. And so it was very strange to see that. And so I do feel kind of relieved that it's getting back to normal.
Yes, yes. But you're right, there is a way to like walk in New York. You
Oh yes, well, people
shouldn't
should
take
definitely
up the
follow that.
whole
Yeah,
street. You should kind of
yeah,
like,
and you don't stop,
no.
and yeah,
Or if you
it's
stop, you like go to the
yeah, right,
side, right?
yeah,
There's like
exactly,
rules.
yeah,
We have rules here.
exactly, yeah. Like I'm a fast walker also, and so I feel, after coming here, I found my people for
Yes,
walking.
the
Like
fast
that's no
walkers.
nonsense, yeah. And so it's the same. That I also noticed too. You can always tell when someone's from out of town because they don't stand in the street when they're waiting to cross. They stand on the sidewalk and they're watching the signal. They're not watching the traffic for their opportunity to jaywalk.
Oh, yes, that's true. That's true. Because in New York, you don't follow. I mean, again, we have rules, but we don't have rules, right?
Yeah, well, the
You're
rule
not supposed
is
to
that
wait.
yeah, no, I mean,
You just keep going.
nobody has time for that.
And
And
you check
so,
which way can I go? This way? All right, I'll
yeah,
go this way
exactly.
faster,
Yeah,
right?
you look for the traffic and then there's a gap and you go, the light is kind of irrelevant.
Yes, it's just a formality, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, so it's the new year. What's going on with your resolutions? Kind of
Oh,
the
well,
big question.
yeah, I mean, of course, like always, I have so many resolutions. Like, I want to do everything. And so, but usually though, most of my resolutions are usually about cycling. And
Okay.
so this year, I'm gonna try to get 5,000 miles this year,
So
which is
that sounds like a large number.
it's a lot. I mean, definitely I'm already a little behind because the weather and everything, but yeah, it is 5,000 is about it's a little less than 100 a week.
Okay.
And so I try to break it down into smaller pieces. But then of course you can't average 100 a week every week of the year,
Yes.
but
Right.
so it ends up being there's a lot more in the summer, but then in the kind of shoulder seasons you got to still keep doing something to make it more manageable.
Well, I'm always impressed that you always set these goals and you reach pretty close, or you do reach them, or you reach
Sometimes,
pretty
yeah, it
close.
it depends. Yeah, I mean, each year is a bit different, but yeah, last year I definitely did it with a couple of days to spare, and then or that was 2 years ago rather. Last year I didn't quite make it. I had a injury, and then also with other stuff going on, I just got too busy. But yeah, it's something I think you have to really try to work at it consistently. And the more you put something off, the worse it's going to be, and the less likely it is you're gonna do it.
Well, like 5,000 is a pretty large number. So how do you motivate yourself? How do you like plan that?
Mm.
How do you not get overwhelmed?
Uh,
Because
yeah, breaking it down. Also, well, part of it is it's something I enjoy, and
mm,
so a lot of it is I have to motivate myself when the weather's bad. Also, I have an indoor bike that I can use if it's really bad. If it's icy, it's too dangerous to be out, and so I have kind of ways to get around that, and then yeah, also being flexible. I think because like it'd be nice in a perfect world. I'd wake up early and do it, but I don't want to wake up early, so sometimes it has to be late at night. And
so
then
how
also on the
do you like
weekends.
reward yourself? Like when you've reached like
Yeah.
let's say do you have like markers where you reward
Mhm.
yourself that okay, I can keep doing it or
I actually don't do that. I actually It's a good idea. I mean, I do
oh,
feel,
okay.
when I have an app called Strava
Hmm.
for it, and then I'm able to set a weekly goal, and then it
Okay.
shows me when I reach my weekly goal, and so that's kind of a marker, that I'm on track.
Okay. Yeah, I really respect that because I always kind of every year I have these resolutions and I kind of I'm going to do this every day or I'm going to, you know, I make these large resolutions and
Mhm.
then I feel like January I'm like so consistent. I'm going to run a marathon and then, something obviously happens and then I kind of finish midway and I'm like, all right, I'll do the next resolution next year. So I'll just
Yeah.
wait the whole year to make another resolution. So
Mhm.
I feel like I always bite off more than I can chew, which
Yeah.
is a good
Well,
expression, but
sure. I think a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of similar. Another way I think about it is I think it's actually good to be ambitious with the goals, because even if you don't actually reach it, you still are going to push yourself to go farther than you would have otherwise.
Yeah, so I've been reading a lot about resolutions, and I was listening to actually a podcast last week, and this guy was talking about just taking small goals, like setting,
Mhm.
he was talking about this one guy who wanted to go to the gym every day, and so he went for 5 minutes. He
Hmm.
would go to the gym,
Mhm.
take him, I don't know how long, go into the gym, spend 5 minutes there, and leave, and at least kind of creating that habit and
Mhm.
just kind of creating, setting these small goals so that you
Yeah,
can check that off and like make another goal so that
right.
you're always kind of, you're never finished, right? Because
Of course, yeah.
um
I think it's a great idea. I think it's one that all for a lot of things, when you think about your ultimate goal, it's something that's far away. It's so big that you can't really wrap your head around it. But then you start to break it down into kind of smaller goals that, it's more manageable.
yeah.
It's like take it one bite at a time, kind of.
Yes, yes, instead of eating the whole pizza or
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
meal.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about how it kind of relates to learning English, right? So
Sure.
um like our company name is Be Fluent, which sets up a really, really large goal, I think.
Right,
And
yeah. It's a lifetime of
it's
work, yeah.
yes, yes. And a lot of people, it's like when we meet them the first time or ask them what they want to do, or like, I want to be fluent. I want to
Sure.
speak English fluent. And it's like great,
Yeah.
but like so recently I've been asking like, but like about what, right? Like what's
Mm.
a topic you want to talk about?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
what's something small you can do? Because I think a lot of times people will say, like, I want to be fluent, and then they'll study for 3 months, 6 months, even a
Mm.
year, even 2 years, and they'll be like, man, I'm not improving. I want to give up or I don't want to do it. But it's like, but the goal is a lifetime goal. So
Yeah, right,
what can you do
absolutely.
now?
Sure. I think about it with languages, I think about tasks that,
Hmm.
because when we learn a language, ultimately we're going to be fluent in some situation, and so
Yes.
it's kind of like what is the
Mm.
function or the outcome that you want, like I want to be able to order at Starbucks, or
Yes.
I
Yes.
want to introduce myself at a party, and that's something that you can really focus in on, and you can build up to be able to do that. And then, ultimately, after you do that for a while, your fluency will increase quite a bit.
Yes. 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 Um, Yeah, and I was even thinking like I want to cook more, right? And that
Mm.
even is so big. Like, what do you want to cook? I want to make
Yeah,
more
right.
salads. Okay, so then from
Mm.
that I can be like, all right, if I want to make more salads, then I need to like research the different leaves, the different
Mhm.
words for that. So,
Yeah, and also how to make it, how to add variety so you don't get sick of it.
yes, exactly. I'm still thinking about I'm not stressing that much about my New Year's goal, but
Yeah.
um I was thinking about I want to walk. I've been reading a lot about how walking is so important, just like every day a little bit. So at first I was like, yeah, I'm gonna walk every day, but then I was like, all right, I want to walk 3 times a week,
Mhm.
so that if I do four, I'll feel like proud of myself that I achieved a
Right.
little more than I
Mhm.
wanted to do.
Right. It also seems, 3 days a week seems very reasonable. Every day, it's things happen that you can't control.
Yes, right? You get sick or you get
Mhm.
busy or
Yeah.
the weather's gets worse.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely coming. That's one of the reasons it's nice to have an indoor bike is, it's not so bad right now, but in January things are going to take a turn.
You think so? Today is like summer weather.
I
It's
know.
like t-shirt
Yeah,
weather.
yeah. They have the heat on in my building, and I have the window open now because it's so hot.
Yeah. Um, so what advice would you give um someone who's like, all right, I want to study English this year, or I want to improve my English somehow.
I think it's think about the situation and
Mm,
what you want to do with it. And so the goal maybe is not to learn English,
mm,
it's to use English for some purpose.
yeah.
And that, that totally depends on what they want to do. And so I think also I'd say follow your interest.
Mm,
So, if you want to cook, try to find a group of people who cook and who are using English. And then you learn English to join the club. you'll
Mm,
have fun and you'll learn and you'll make friends. And so I think that that's an important thing, that you have to match what you really want. And so similar, like if you think about some of the proficiency exams like TOEFL or IELTS, those are fine, but do you really need that?
mm,
If you're
mm.
going to study in a university, then you need to study that. But if you don't, then it's not really going to be something that you can use. And then I think if you're not interested, you're not going to keep doing it.
Oh yeah, it's totally soul crushing, It's like
Yeah.
studying for the TOEFL when you don't need it is
Yeah.
you're not going to use. Okay, speak in 20 seconds. Answer my question.
Yeah. And so I think if you enjoy something, you're going to be more consistent and you're going to keep doing it. And it shouldn't be work.
Yeah, yeah. And it should, and like I had a student and I asked her something and she didn't understand what I said. And then after later she did and she was really upset. And I thought about myself learning languages and how much, like when I learn a language, I like to just like get into it. I like to
Mm.
just take a class. I enjoy not understanding anything. That's something that for me
Mm.
is a fun feeling. For some people that really don't like it, they want to understand everything. But so like I remember when I was in Japan and I was taking a tennis class, a weekly tennis class. Nobody spoke English. I spoke basically zero Japanese. I was like, hi.
Mm.
And we were playing a doubles game, and the teacher yelled at me. He was like, my. And I was like, oh my God, he spoke English to me. And he said, my. Okay, he's going to take it. I was like, okay, he's speaking English to me. He's trying to communicate.
Right.
And then the ball came to me and I couldn't hit it and I was just like, "Whoa, what just happened?" He spoke English to me and I couldn't express the situation. I
Mm.
couldn't ask him. I went home, looked at my dictionary. I was like, "Oh, my means like go forward."
Mm.
And I thought, "Oh, okay." Even though that situation was kind of embarrassing, everybody was looking at me. The teacher was obviously so upset. I thought, "Okay, so that situation I learned and then I learned all the
Mm.
words that have to do with like go forward, go back,
Mm.
so that the next time I would be ready." So
Right.
I think also a lot of people will go to a coffee shop or do something and then someone doesn't understand you. And especially in New York where everyone's like,
Mm.
what? Not to give up, and just
Yeah.
like, all right, what could I have done better? Or like
Mm.
use that as a
Sure.
good experience, and make that, okay, my
Right.
next goal will be to be able to take a tennis lesson and understand what they're saying.
Sure. Yeah, I actually think that's a really good point, that a part of learning is making mistakes,
Yes.
and I remember when I went to China, I spoke like 3 words of Chinese maybe, and I started taking lessons, and I made so many mistakes,
Mm.
and I said something really embarrassing with the teacher, and she laughed and laughed and laughed. But then she told all the other people I worked with, because she taught them as well.
Oh
And
no.
so it was super embarrassing, but I survived, I
Yeah.
didn't die, and I learned, and I will never make the same mistake again. And,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
it is tough, it is tough to make mistakes and have these
It's so tough.
situations, but that is how we learn, that, we found something that was a weakness or a
Hmm.
gap in our knowledge, and you can focus in on that, and then you will do better the next time.
Yeah, yeah, kind of using each situation as almost like
Mhm.
a way to set a goal, right? Like
Yeah.
I was in that meeting, I couldn't introduce myself. Okay, great. So now you know
Mhm.
what you need to do,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of a cliche, but it is an opportunity to be able to find out what you need.
Yeah.
That it's yeah, it's important to have that kind of awareness too.
Mm,
That when something goes wrong, kind of analyze it and think about, okay, like what is it? What can I do to make it better the next time? I think also for learning a language, I think about like vocabulary is really important.
mm,
And like you were saying, that it's like there are these situations that there's a group of words that you're probably going to need.
mm.
And when I was in China, I did that at the market. That was kind of my first step, was, being able to get food. And
Yes.
so I would look up a bunch of words that I would need at the market, like I need potatoes and whatever. And then I'd study those, I'd go in and do it. And then after, like, okay, like they didn't understand when I said this, I need to work on that one. And so it's just kind of, yeah, having um an awareness of what you're saying and what they're not understanding.
Yeah, and I like how you said like analysis and like analyzing that
Mm,
situation, which I think there's so much like fear that goes into learning. There's so much like
sure.
vulnerability. You're so
Hmm.
like, some people attend universities, have jobs, they come here and it's like, you can't really
Oh
say
yeah.
anything, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like it's like you become like illiterate or you become like a baby, and it's yeah, it's a
and it's
really tough
frustrating.
experience.
It's
Yes,
really frustrating.
absolutely.
But I like how you said that you kind of go back and you analyze that and you kind of think, because I think learning a language is a really I don't know the word, but it's like it's a process where you really have to get to know yourself.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I think you do that. It's one that we don't learn a second language the same way as we learn our first language, and that
Yeah.
it's um it's something that you have to be very deliberate about. I also think too with a lot of the goals, one of the things too is to be aware that learning a language takes a long time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you
Yes.
can't compare yourself to other people, but you definitely can't compare yourself to a native speaker, because we've been learning English our entire lives. We
Yes.
had years of formal study and we had years of just experience
Informal, right?
speaking.
Just like hanging
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
And then also, we you learn so fast when you're a child,
Hmm.
and so as an adult, it's slower and it's a different process. And so I think people need to be kind of patient with themselves
Yeah.
and not overly critical when everything doesn't go perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about how just also like recognizing the good things that you do. Okay,
Mm,
I couldn't do this, I couldn't say this, but what did you do? Oh, I
mm,
actually could do, I could speak to someone, I could say, so focusing on the things that you can do, because again, it's really a mindset. And if
mm,
you, with anything, probably biking, exercising, walking, if you start saying, I can't, you won't,
mm, yeah.
and I was talking to a student about that. He's like, yeah, I can't express. And I was like, well, then you won't, but you have to
Mm,
like be like, I can and I want to.
yeah. I think it's
Easier said than done.
yeah, right. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a hard, learning a language is a difficult process, and I do think that having a positive mindset is good. That and also,
Mhm.
having the the mindset that you want to take a risk with something and you want to try to use something, and sometimes it's not successful, but maybe you nail it and it's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and if it's not, then you analyze it, like you said. Go
Yeah,
back and like, what did I do? Um, well, hopefully that's helpful for anyone watching.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's. Uh, I really do love languages, even though it is always that kind of love-hate relationship with studying. And I
Yes.
think that it's also a way, especially for people who live here, it's a great way to enjoy the city. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in New York, but you probably need English for it. And so yeah, I think everybody should get out and use English to enjoy living in New York.
I think so too. And you don't if it's hard to make friends, I was thinking like go to the farmers market and
Mm,
chat with the farmers and
sure.
ask a simple or ask someone like, what time is it? Or how do I
Hmm.
get to the subway, so that there's like every day you're communicating in some way.
Hmm. Right. All right.
Well, Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.